In this video, I'll provide an overview of some of the Excel tools that can support your decision making when making a consumer purchase. So this first tab here is for a consumer purchase, and it can help you organize your research and your comparison process from different stores for a particular major consumer item. So for instance, if you're buying a printer or a computer or perhaps a cell phone, you can use this to help organize your research. So you'd fill out the product information here, and the sources of information such as Consumer Reports or Consumer World, for instance, and any tips that these articles suggest on making decisions for your purchase. Now, recall in the chapter you also read about the research-based buying process, and so you'll want to keep that in mind as you fill out this worksheet. So we'll go ahead and scroll down. So let's imagine that I want to buy a printer, and so different places that I can buy my HP printer, for instance, might be Best Buy or perhaps Target. And my third store might be Walmart, for instance. As I shop at these three stores, I'll jot down the information here around the location, perhaps a website link for easy access, what's the brand name and the cost sold by each store, and any product differences from the item above that I originally listed. So perhaps I didn't know which brand I wanted, I just needed a printer, and so my specifications that I list above might simply be I need a black and white printer. But perhaps as you were shopping in these stores, there was something different, like a color printer instead, or it's a printer with fax option. So you'll want to know any differences so that you can keep track. Is this really an apples to apples comparison on your product, or is there something special that these stores carry that is worth considering? You'll also want to note if there's a warranty included with the product, or if it's something that you have to buy in addition to the purchase price of our product, and then any reasons why you would buy from one store over another. Another store that we might do is Costco, for instance, since Costco carries printers as well, and Costco has a very good return policy. So you'll want to include any information that will help you make your decisions with your consumer purchase. If we click on the second tab, this will help you with a used car purchase. So here we have a table where you can list the information on the automobile that you're looking at, and where you can buy, and the cost and mileage, the condition of the car, tires, and other characteristics. But oftentimes there are really good websites already out there, such as Auto Trader, that will let you do comparison shopping for different vehicles directly on the website. So if you prefer to use that, you can, but this is a nice checklist too to make sure that you have this information or that you've thought about it as you make decisions for a used car purchase. And the last tab here, which I think is the most useful, is actually a buying versus leasing calculator. So I actually need to get a new car by the end of the year because my current vehicle's lease is almost up, and my partner and I are debating if we want to buy a car or lease a car. And so this will also be helpful too in your case study. If your case study has a buy versus lease decision that needs to be made by the family or individual. And so this is something you can use for the quantitative portion of your case analysis. So I'm going to guide you through on how to plug in the information here. So for instance, if we are looking to buy a car, I'm going to enter in here the total vehicle costs, including the sales tax. So we're thinking of buying a used car in this instance, and when we've estimated the cost with sales tax, I get $28,000 roughly. Now for the down payment, I have $10,000 set aside for our down payment, so I'll go ahead and enter the $10,000 there. So any box that has the light gray, that's where you'll enter in, and any of the dark gray boxes have formulas set up, so you don't want to enter anything into there. Now for the monthly loan payment, I need to figure out what that is. So I'll go ahead and click on this link here, and it has a useful vehicle loan payment calculator. So here's our auto loan calculator, and I've entered in $18,000 because the estimated cost of the car with tax was $28,000 minus my down payment of $10,000. So I need to borrow $18,000, and I'm looking at a 4-year or 48-month loan. We are getting a used vehicle, and the default interest rate that's entered here is 3%. Now, the tip though is if you can work with like a credit union or a smaller bank, they can have really good interest rates as opposed to some of the other options out there, or if you're going directly with, let's say, a dealership. And so let's say I can get a better interest rate at around 2%. And so that improved my monthly payment. So I've got $391 here, and it even lets me know how much interest I'll be paying during that time. So I'm going to go ahead and plug in the $391, and it says times here, and here I need to enter the number of months. So this is a 48-month loan. So you'll see the cost gets calculated here on the right. Now, we also want to consider the opportunity cost, and you learned about that in chapter 1. So if for the opportunity cost, this is going to be how much our down payment was, and I'm going to plug that in, the 10,000. And if I didn't use that 10,000 for the down payment, but instead used it for an investment, let's say I can put it in a CD. I actually just got an ad from Wells Fargo saying I could put it into a certificate of deposit for 2.5%. And then right here, we also want to know how many years, again, that loan was for. So that was the 48-month or 4-year loan. So note that here the times, it says in years, because the future value calculators are based on annual periods, not monthly. So you want to make sure you don't accidentally type in 48 here. And so you can see this is my opportunity cost that I would have earned with that down payment, for instance. And then we also want to subtract the value of the vehicle at the end of the loan. So after my 4 years, according to KBB, how much is my car, which I now own, how much is it worth? And so let's say we imagine that the car is going to be worth $10,000. I'm just doing a rough estimate. And so that'll help me decide, because now it becomes an asset of mine that if I need to, I can sell it for cash. So our total cost to buy then is $19,768. So this is more helpful because it takes into account opportunity cost as well as asset value versus just thinking about the cost of the vehicle initially, including sales tax. So go ahead and scroll down, because now we want to look at, well, what happens if I was to do a lease instead? With our monthly lease payments here, there's a link here that you can click out to do a quick estimate. So here's the auto lease calculator. And let's say the car that we're looking at, it's a brand new car, MSRP is $30,000, but we're able to negotiate down to $28,000. And the down payment for the lease is around $1,000. There's a sales tax associated with it, and we can do a 36-month lease, for instance. That's the typical lease. Now, it also notes the new car lending rate and the car value at the end of the loan. So according to this, our lease payment is $415.03. So I'll just type in $415 over in my worksheet. But as you can see here, it breaks down the components of our lease. So I'll plug in my 415, and this is a 36-month lease. Now for my opportunity cost, it's just that security deposit of $1,000 times how many years. So 36 months is the same as saying 3 years. And let's say we could have put it into that CD at 2.5%. And this will be my opportunity cost of leasing. And so I also want to make note if I have any end of lease charges, if applicable. So this might be any overages in miles that I have to pay. But let's assume that I don't have any end of lease charges. I keep track of my miles and I don't go over. So our total cost of lease is $15,015. And so if we compare our total cost to buy of $19,768 versus our total cost of lease of $15,015, we can see that the cost of buying is greater by about $4,700. And so I'll have to decide if that is acceptable to me, aside from the money part, also any other factors in regards to maybe I don't like having to think about buying or leasing another car again every couple of years. And I'd rather just use my purchase car for a long time until it doesn't work anymore. But if your main priority is saving money, then our leasing cost here is the better of the two options. It will save you the $4,700, but at the end of your 3-year lease, you'll have to go through your decision process again. And so my current car is Lease, because I wasn't sure if I wanted to buy a hybrid because it is expensive and I wanted to test it out. And I'm glad I did it. So there's reasons why we go through the leasing process. It might be because you're unsure if you want to do that upfront investment and have this car long term. And I'm glad I did. You'll want to take into account other factors aside from just the money part when you're trying to decide if you want to buy or lease a vehicle. So if you have any questions, just let me know.